You're live.
Live. Thank you, Tyler. Good morning, everyone. I see it is 11 a.m. It is Tuesday, February 17th, and I'd like to call this Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I'd like to begin by acknowledging around the traditional territory of the Status today. Are there any late items to introduce? Seeing none, I'll move to 4 on our agenda, which is approval of the agenda.
So moved, Your Worship.
Seconded by Councillor Faccio, seconded by Councillor Swinebens. Discussion. Call the vote. All in favor? That carries. Which takes us to item 5, items for discussion. A bylaw enforcement report recommendations. And who am I turning this over to?
I can take it if you want. Okay.
Corporate officer, please.
Sure, thank you. So this came out of the last regular council meeting and was referred to Committee of the Whole, and hoping to get some direction on the 2 items there. I put all the recommendations on there from the bylaw report, but there are 2 in particular that are more council driven. Number 1, which is to consider revisiting the barbecue zones with a view towards possible expansion. And number 4, which is to consider off-leash dog swimming area near the boat launch. So we've come up with a couple of pictures in the agenda package that kind of indicate the current barbecue zones there on page 1 of the agenda package. We've also added in a pedestal count as well. And then a proposal to add 3 additional barbecue pedestals in the area just north of the beach washroom. And then the next page is some excerpts from our current park regulation bylaw, just explaining the definitions of barbecue, barbecue tank, barbecue pedestal, and what the current regulation there is. And then again, just highlighting some of those enforcement challenges that we're seeing along the beachfront area with the barbecue zones. It's very difficult to enforce. We certainly can increase communications and signage, but it sometimes just doesn't have the desired effect, especially with these pedestal barbecues. We see them very common, barbecues on a self-contained pedestal. And then the second aspect there is the off-leash dog area. So we provided an example of one in Cultus Lake, where you can see there's a marina or a boat launch right there, and off-leash dog swim area right nearby as well. And then on the last page of the agenda is just an outline of a map showing where the proposed canoe kayak launch is going, and then the proposed off-leash dog swim area in that little kind of C-shaped cove just south of that. So I think that's all I have. Unless there's any questions, happy to answer.
If I may, just before, just before we move forward with respect to signage and stuff, just so council's aware, we're going to be redoing the flags down on the waterfront. So we're going to be able to have different colors for different zones, and the barbecue zone is going to have a specific color, which will make it easier for visitors to be able to define where the areas are. Good. For barbecue. And matter of fact, it's the design was completed by Kaylee, and she did a fabulous job. And I think we're just in the final stages of getting them prepared, and we'll see them up within the next few weeks, I suppose. Good.
It depends on order timeline.
Yeah. Are they those long bananas? No, they're the taller.
They're like the street pole banners.
Yeah.
On the lamp.
Yeah.
They're little.
Yeah, not flags. Sorry, they're the actual banners. So yeah, I'm really excited to see that come forward. So if we're going to be expanding the area, then this is the time to do it, so we can open more banners.
Right. Sorry. Councillor Patchen.
Just quick, we'll be quick on this one.
Yes.
Well, thanks for bringing the off-leash dog area, that swim area. I was looking at it yesterday. That would be a great area for the dogs there. And the other one in regards to the barbecues, I still think they should be expanded into Rendell Park, and that the west side of Spruce, you've got the first stall is handicap. I would suggest at least 3 of the other stalls, although they won't be paid parking, they could be made into a 15-minute loading and unloading for the Rendell Park but he wouldn't be able to park there just to unload. He would lose 3 spaces for paid parking, but I think we'd make it up somewhere else. But that would help for the people to pull up, unload, and then load, and then have to park their vehicle somewhere else. So, but I think it's anything. The east side of Spruce, not the west side, obviously. The side that the new condominium is going to go in one day. There's what, 5, 6 stalls there. The first one is a handicap near the entrance to Randall Park, and 3 of those stalls could be turned into a 15-minute loading and unloading.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So the west side of Spruce has been changed into.
That's for the boats, yeah.
Yeah, for the boats to stage, and now, I mean, obviously for loading and unloading for people with children and stuff, you'd have to go across traffic. So that's for consideration as well.
Can I just make sure we all understand the existing enforcement challenges? And I've got very handy that you've got this stand-up little portable on wheels barbecue. Those are, so do I understand correctly that if you bring your own barbecue, you're supposed to use the barbecue stands that are placed there, and that these portable ones that also flip up standalone, that's not good? Help me understand, like people, I'm guessing people have small barbecues, that's what it's meant for, because it's easy to carry, but these are on wheels. They look super handy.
Yes.
They're not allowed unless you can put this on top of the stand or beside the stand. Help me understand.
I have the same question.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. That's a great question. The reason why as well the Rendell Park isn't as ideal is because families tend to want to use the lagoon area as opposed to Rendell Park, because you can more easily see, it's often warmer than the beach itself. So the lagoon area is very, very popular for families barbecuing. So the way we have barbecue defined is this would not be permitted because it exceeds the barbecue pedestal. So the intent of the bylaw is to only have barbecues on the pedestals. There's an argument, what's the purpose of that? This is basically a self-contained pedestal. It's doing the same thing. It's raising it up off of the ground, which is the purpose. But I think there was a dual purpose with the pedestals and basically restricting the areas and how many you could have at a time barbecuing. So they are not permitted, but they set up all over the place along the beachfront. Even where there are no pedestals, they'll just set up right there. There's no picnic table. It's just the area between the benches, and it's very, very hard people are already set up. It's very hard to enforce. And again, a reluctance and challenge in issuing tickets to people who may refuse to provide identification. Their argument is they're coming here to just set up a barbecue and have a nice family day at the beach, and you're going to ticket me. So it just creates an enforcement challenge in terms of having that kind of negative visitor experience. But yes, to answer your question, they are technically not permitted.
So if I was the person here with this nice little barbecue, I'd say, so you're telling me if I had a barbecue and I put it on one of your pedestals, which does exactly the same as this, I'm fine. But if I bring my own pedestal, I'm not fine. Even if I use this and put it right in front of the pedestal.
Technically, yeah.
Technically,
yes.
So that seems a little hard to rationalize. Councillor Vital, I saw your first.
I think the concern also was prohibiting the use of these and putting them on the pedestals is a fire issue.
Yeah.
Because, the pedestals are there, but the concrete base with the picnic tables extends out. So the concern is dripping grease or whatever from barbecuing onto the grass area. So,
yeah.
Also,
sorry, I see Councillor Schmeier first. I'll come back.
Well, I had the same questions. I can see the only advantage of having this rule is that you're limiting it to 14 at a time. Probably a multiple of that, of number of families on a busy Saturday that want to use one of these. But I can see that if we exclude these, it's going to be a real challenge for our bylaw people to do anything. There's going to be conflict.
It just seems arbitrary
It's
and
gonna
hard
be-
to explain.
Yeah.
Councillor Frenchman.
But besides these pedestal ones, which Councillor Byland's quite rightly said as well, all barbecues, they drip grease.
Yeah.
So the grease will be going onto the grassed area, not the concrete area. And also, as your bylaw officer mentioned, I think this year, but it happens every year, people even bring the full-size barbecues, takes 4 of them to lift it, and they put that on the beef. And that is there every year, maybe only 1 or 2, but they even bring the big-size barbecues. And that's freestanding, as you were just saying.
Yeah.
So, I think this would create an open door to bring all size barbecues besides this one. I think we should basically stick to what we built. I mean, that was prior to building these barbecue tables or installing them with the barbecue areas. It was freestanding on the beach, the odd ones, it wasn't like, but we're creating the barbecue tables with the metal stand. I mean, that's a safety concern as well. So we increased more barbecuing by putting in those picnic tables in over the years. But anything going west of where it is now, we had a large petition from the business community several years ago regarding, fine, we don't mind the barbecues, but not out in front of our restaurants.
Okay, I think in principle I'm in favor of having more barbecue pads or tables or pedestals, whatever you want to call it. Maybe a combination. If people are bringing in these roll-up ones, maybe we have just a hardened surface that they can sit on that's somewhat level. And if that's happening, and hats off to ambitious people that want to lift a full-size barbecue up onto the beach. That's quite enthusiastic.
Yeah.
I in principle in favor of that. I do have some questions about the location by the washrooms there on the concrete. That's a pretty busy area right next to the playground. Maybe a splash park going in there, or something, a water type feature. I worry about hot barbecues and lots of kids running around and stuff being thrown and creating some conflicts. Or would it be, and I do accept that people like around the lagoon where it's warmer. Are there opportunities to expand the barbecue area, and mainly just some separation from the playground? What about closer to the parking lot for the boat launch and around that backside of the lagoon in that area there where the path, and I know it's been landscaped in those areas, and it would sort of tie in with in the middle of the existing barbecue areas. Are there any complications with that?
Surface of the tables. Surface of those tables are different. Yeah, you can't have anything hot on those.
Sorry, what's the problem? Too much of an incline?
No, the material for the picnic tables, there's like a plastic.
It's EcoWood.
EcoWood, yeah.
Right, okay.
That's not to say we could build more pedestals on that spot where I think you're talking about behind where we're proposing the dogs to go.
Yeah, so north of the parking lot on the lagoon side.
Yeah, I see that.
But I don't,
It's a nice spot.
just off the top of my head, I don't know what the slope of the beach is like or anything else. Councillor Vital.
Thank you. I actually agree with Councillor Facio on putting a few more in Rendell Park. There is lots of room there, and it is used by visitors there. And, we do have that roped off area in the summer on the lake in front of the beach. I took a walk down there this weekend, and there certainly is ample room
Yeah.
to put in a few more in there, so. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other discussion on this? Councilor
Yeah, I mean,
Forbes?
it speaks to the larger discussion about the value of the kind of tourists we're trying to attract. We want, I think, medium and high value tourists. And, you know, as a shop owner in the front for 7 years, I noticed these families come and they come self-contained from wherever they're coming from. They really don't spend any money in our village. I'm very grateful that we're going to be repatriating some of the money on their parking now, whether it be here in the overflow or in their day tickets for $25 now. But you know, we have to get value out of these customers too, or out of these tourists. And if we become just a big barbecue zone, then we become just another regional park, and we don't differentiate ourselves from Derby Reach or, you know, some of these other places like Kilby as an example. But I understand that we're not going to make a big, huge change today. I don't know about going westward. I like the idea, if we're going to do anything, to add some more on the beach, away from the businesses that exist.
Councilor Jackson, I think I saw your hand. Any suggestions, comments?
I've heard the discussion. This is the
Yeah.
13th year I've heard. And the reality is that you cannot beat the demand. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And I think the bylaw officer can only do what she can do. I mean, she does the best she can. Don't solve all the problems. But adding more barbecues to me is not the way to go. I agree with Councillor right here on my bench on the left here. It's good. You just have to live with it, really. It's one of those hills you can't climb. So that's the way I feel about it. And the next council, those next 4 years, this will be on the agenda again.
What feedback do we have from bylaw about their challenges this year? I mean, we've got some, you know, we want to make their life easy as well, because there's a lot of, I've seen her and them argue with people, and it's very disturbing to see. And they're not empowered really to get ID, and sometimes they have to get the RC involved, and it makes it a nasty kind of attitude on the beach for everybody. So we need to make it smooth for them also, and yet maintain our value. So I get that.
Anything, corporate officer, on the enforcement challenges?
Yeah. I've outlined some on there for sure. Those are the key ones. Something I didn't really touch on is just the amount of time spent moving people into the barbecue zone, and that can come down to some better communication and signage, and maybe a bit more of communications in advance of the tourism season, right? Like putting out maps and pushing out those communications a little bit more proactively. There's also just the demand. It's always going to exceed the supply. That people come here because they want to barbecue.
Yeah.
I think what we are hoping to achieve today is either way, some clearer direction on whether those zones are going to exist as they currently do. Then what we'll do is go with that communications plan and increased public education, and then a little bit more clarity around the freestanding kind of barbecues that are, like you say, it's hard to enforce. They're on their own pedestal. So what's the difference if I have it on this pedestal? Grease could come off of the barbecue that's on the metal pedestal. My understanding is that grease on the grass hasn't been an issue, but it's just people. It's very hard to enforce these portable ones when you have a pedestal right there. It kind of creates a bit of a challenge there.
Yeah, I can just imagine someone saying, really, you're worried about grease spilling onto the grass, a few drips or whatever. Look at all the grease that I see walking around, leaving their remains.
Mayor Tom.
Just a second. I take a long run view about barbecuing, and I know it's often mentioned in council meetings. People come to the village, they don't leave anything economically. They show up and they bring their own lunch with their cooler and their barbecue and their picnic bags, and they don't leave anything. I take a longer run I've met so many people that say, we used to come to Harrison all the time as a family. It was lovely. We would barbecue, we'd be there. And now I come here and my business does conferences, or I come here and then because I was introduced to it as a young age, coming here was lovely. Now I might bring my family, we stay in the motel, or we stay in a hotel, or we do other things. I think it's an investment, and I accept, maybe these people don't leave a lot in the local economy on a visit on a summer day, but I think it's a long run investment that builds memories, and it encourages people to come back, maybe in a different time, in a different context. 20, 30 years later, they go, let's go to Harrison. It's really great, instead of, I have all these fond memories. So I take a long run view, and I think the village should think about a mix of opportunities for visitor experience, from the high end in the resort and spa to more affordable accommodations, to I think of other types of timeshares and not timeshares, short-term rentals or other types of commercial, and also for the day people that come in, either to use the water park or throw their boat in the lake and go for a spin, or just barbecue for the day. I think there's a range of things, and I don't think it all has to be at one end. So, Councillor Patrick.
Through your worship, to a staff, so what direction are you asking? Do you need a resolution from us this morning?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
If there's no changes to the barbecue zones as they are, then what we'll do is just add more pedestals in Rendell Park to increase the supply, and then we'll focus on that communications plan.
Sorry, if it needs to go into the financial plan. So I don't know that we have like the additional.
It might not be this year. Yeah, it might not be this year. So
is there room on Rendell Beach for more pedestals without compromise? I know there's several, but I don't think there's enough room to put a few more. I would support having a few more pedestals if people are using it for barbecuing. It's great. I would also, the people that roll in with their own pedestals like barbecues, I think you're creating an enforcement nightmare and just gonna.
So we can permit those within the zones only. So for example, in the meantime, if we don't get pedestals installed in Rendell Park this year, people with those could still set up down on the far end of Rendell.
I
was just contemplating what you were saying, and I think we're saying the same thing, bringing people from being low value tourists to a spectrum where they become high value tourists later in life. So I get the long-term view, but I was also thinking that, when we were in Italy, you go to these beaches and you pay like, I don't know, 30 euros for a lawn chair, to which I told my wife, maybe the sand is good enough. But maybe we can monetize the picnic tables. Maybe there's a way to make it a pay per use. Seriously, maybe there's some kind of, they put in their $5 and they get it for 4 hours, and then it's the next person's turn. It'd be great to monetize these things.
Technically, they already are if they're paying for parking.
I'm sorry?
Technically, they already are if they're paying for
parking. But a lot of them move on, like they unload their gear, their family, their coolers, and their barbecues, and they move on to park down on somewhere else, right? So this would guarantee some revenue, and it just pays for the cleaning and the trash. I think most people would get that.
Councillor Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, this does happen in Europe. You pay this, but no, I don't think it would. I mean, we're now having our bylaw officer to take care of paid parking, plus the enforcement of everything that goes on in the beach and around the village. I mean, if I have to make a resolution, it would be to leave the area as is marked, but to extend, whether it could be next year, I don't know whether they have the money this year, to extend for more tables in the Rendell Park area, and for staff to look at the 3 spaces I mentioned on the east side for people to unload and load and unload. I'm fine with the dog park where it is. I don't think it needs any benches in there. There's already one there, and just a doggy station for the bags. I think that's all you would need in the dog area.
I'm going to hold that last thought on the dog, off-leash dog area. Can I put a motion forward? I'll put a motion forward to maintain the existing barbecue zones as set out in this diagram that exists today. Maintain that. Just we'll keep the same. We won't expand the barbecue zones. We'll leave it as is, and I'll move that. This will give staff some direction. Then we'll get to the other ones later. I'm just going to deal with this small bites at a time. Is there a seconder to that?
No second.
No second.
Oh, right, committee of the whole. Discussion on maintaining the current barbecue zones. So, Councillor Vital.
Thank you. Like to make an amendment to that motion that staff also look at the cost to increase tables and pedestals in Rendell Park.
I was going to get to that secondly. So I want to just say, if we keep the zones the way they are, and then my next motion would be, let's put some more into Rendell Park.
All right.
Is that okay? That was my
Yeah,
thinking
that was-
behind just going small bites at a time, and then we'll pull a piece of it
Good
apart.
idea.
Any other discussion on the motion to maintain the barbecue zones?
I'll second it.
Oh, we don't need a seconder. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Okay. Barbecue zones stay as it is. Now, Councillor Vital, I think you've got a motion. I'll let you speak
Yeah.
to it.
I will make a motion to ask staff to cost out increasing the number of tables and barbecue pedestals in Rendell Park.
All right. Discussion on that motion.
Do you have a number in mind?
I'll leave that up to staff
Okay.
to,
Maybe we
To
go from
determine.
14 to 18 or something like, or whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah,
We'll have a look
okay.
and see what.
Make a recommendation.
Okay.
All in favor of that? That also carries. Fantastic.
Mayor John, I might have a motion.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. If I could move to have staff, I know it's not gonna happen this year, but to start researching on monetizing the picnic tables for a pay-per-use system. $5 or whatever to take care of the cleaning and garbage disposal along the waterfront.
So a motion to somehow
Direct staff to
monetize a reserving, a rental of
Yep.
picnic tables, I
Yep.
guess is what you'd call it, right? All right, discussion on that. I do have a couple comments.
Just asking for research on the topic.
Yeah. I can imagine that the cost of administering would be something. I think someone who all of a sudden shows up and says, oh, I'd like to barbecue and there's an empty table, and then be told they can't use it, or you get conflict because someone says, well, I paid for this table. I don't know. I kind of like the inspiring people on a first come, first served basis. If you want a barbecue table, you should come early and spend as much of the day as possible instead of you want to barbecue at 2 p.m. and book the whole thing and we have an empty table sitting there, which probably frustrate people. So I wouldn't be in favor of asking staff to look in it because I'm just not sure that's the best way to go. So
Well, it sets us up for future years when we might do this.
Any other discussion on the motion? Councillor Vital?
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I agree with your comments. I think it would cause more problems because people would say, I'm not going to pay the fee to rent a picnic table. I'll just go somewhere else and barbecue for nothing.
Yeah.
And that, I think, would cause an little bit of an administrative nightmare. I personally like seeing families down at the beach barbecuing because it promotes the village as a family-oriented area. So I would not be in favor of Councillor Schonwick's motion. Thank you.
Councillor
I've
Patchell?
already made my comments. It's going to be too much for the bylaw enforcement officer, and those people who cannot get the table will end up going to blocks 1, set up their barbecues there, and then the hassle start where you can't barbecue here. But the bylaw officer, it's going to be a very difficult thing to to monitor and even administrate. No, I don't think it would, I think we have a good setup as it is. We put in those picnic tables for a good reason. They work wonderful, as you say, first come, first served. And with the flag situation they're going to put in for the zones, that would certainly help, I think.
The
Yeah.
signage.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion?
One quick question, if
Sure.
I could. Those picnic tables, pads and pedestals, are they paid for by our taxpayers or by our DMI funds? RMI funds?
No.
No?
They
I'm
were
not sure
on-
how they were originally, but it would be something that if it wasn't in our,
Oh, it's
Or,
not,
yeah,
yeah,
budget, then it
the
would-
previous one would have been paid for through RMI.
Through our RMI, the previous
Right.
ones, new ones, we don't know.
We'd have
We will apply.
to know 100% for sure, we'd have to do some research, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the last ones.
The last ones were RMI.
Norman?
Yeah.
So there's a possibility that could be elbowed into the
Yeah,
current.
that'd be something to consider, because our taxpayers are paying for these tables that they
Yep.
generally don't use.
Sure. Any other discussion on the motion? I'll call the vote. Oh, sorry, Councillor Jackson.
I'm in support of Councillor Singh because
Okay.
the dynamics of finance are changing.
Yeah.
And next couple of years, our revenue is going to have to increase. It may be something that we have to look at. And getting, if it takes 6 months or a year to get the information, come back to the new council, it may be worthwhile looking at, because let's say, capital money is not around these days. So
All right,
that's all I have to say.
thank you. See no further discussion. I'll call the vote. All in favor of that motion? 2 in favor, opposed, and 3 opposed, and motion fails. I do take Councillor Jackson's wise counsel that no doubt this will come back to a council table meeting in the future. I'm sure it's not a completely resolved matter, so.
You could reuse the map.
Uh,
A picture of the
The
pedestal.
last one, I think staff's looking for some clarification on the self-pedestal barbecues, if I can coin a phrase. Right now, they're not permitted. It seems a little arbitrary. Councillor Pacho,
I'll make a motion to try it out for this year.
try it out for this year
Yeah.
to,
Yeah,
Permit.
we'll see what report we get back from the bio enforcement officer.
that creates a problem.
Yeah.
So a pilot project for 1 year to permit self-pedestal barbecues only in the barbecue zones.
So, oh yeah, and there's a,
Councillor Schweinitz?
Yeah, I support that. I'm concerned about the number that will be up there. But, you know, I've gone up there with my dog and almost tripped over the little hibachis that they put on the grass.
Yeah.
They're not on a pedestal, and they're small, and they're hard to see, and they're quite hot. So I like these modern ones. They're self-collecting for their grease. They're safe, lightweight, and
Yeah.
I think it's too much for our bylaw to try and chase them away.
So Councillor Fascio has a motion, I believe, to permit on a 1 year trial basis, pilot program basis, the self-pedestal barbecues to permit them in the barbecue zones. Any other discussion on that motion?
Are you saying
Go ahead.
if X has a pedestal
Yeah,
and they're barbecuing,
yeah.
then Y can come right beside them between X and Z and put up barbecues?
Councillor Fascio, is it permitting the self-pedestal barbecues only on barbecue pads or tables or anywhere in the barbecue zone? Again,
well, it wouldn't be right next to the, well, people, if they've got a table, they'll put it, I've seen them actually next to the table. Actually, some actually fold the legs
Yeah.
and they rest them on the pedestal.
But I think to
no, go ahead.
Councillor Jackson's point, instead of having 14 barbecues that day, we might have 28. We might have 38.
You might have a lot of barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
We already are.
It already happens,
We're-
it
yeah.
already happened.
Yes.
We already are.
Councillor Vital.
Although, I think that already happens,
Right.
right? If there's no table or pedestal available, they will set up a barbecue just about anywhere. Just for clarification, are we restricting only to the ones in the diagram here? Or will we also be permitting people who bring the large barbecues? Like, it would be difficult for bylaws to say, your small portable one is permitted, but not your big one. I mean,
That's a good question. I would think it's kind of self-limiting, lifting a full-size barbecue into the back of a truck and out of a truck and bring it up. I know. It happens. The lack of convenience, I think it's largely self-limiting, but again, maybe we'll get some information this year, bylaws there, get some numbers and see if that actually does create I don't know if it actually creates a problem, but it does. Corporate officer, tell me more about people with a 6-burner barbecue showing up.
They do bring them.
Wow.
Okay. Yep, it does happen. I've seen it myself.
Crazy.
Right now, those are not permitted because the cylinder liquid capacity of 10 pounds or less, right? So I think some direction on that would be great. Either way, based off of what I'm hearing here today, we're going to have to do some amendments to that park regulation bylaw anyway. I think it needs to be a little bit more clear and breaking down just very clearly specifying what types of barbecues are not permitted. We've got charcoal briquettes, but it doesn't say anything about these kind of pedestal ones or full-size barbecues. So yes, but it does happen.
Can add to, modify your motion, Councillor, to amend it to also do it for a trial process, but have staff look into somehow limiting or restricting the very large barbecues, finding a way to, ones that collapse and fold and the pedestal appears because it unfolds is one thing, but bringing a 300-pound barbecue with a 20-pound tank, I don't think that's what we meant here. We're looking for easily portable or rollable or something like that with collapsible legs or something like that.
The tank restricted anyway.
Yeah, you can always just screw in a 3-pound bottle.
Yeah, I suppose.
Right, so you leave your 20-pound tank at home, you just take a little one for the day. So you still have I think we're looking at some sort of, and ask staff to sort of limit that. So if I could move to amend it to include seeking some recommendations from staff on how to limit it to sort of collapsible style pedestal barbecues.
Will this give us time for changes this summer, Amanda?
Thank you.
Everything that we're talking about?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
thanks. I think, especially because if we're not expanding the zones, then definitely gives us some time. There are some other amendments to the park regulation bylaw that I'd like to make. So it should give us some time before May long to get the thing all,
Okay. Any other discussion on the amendment? And then we'll get back to the original motion. Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor of amending it to get the research on recommendations to restrict the pedestal size. And then back to the original now amended motion. Any further discussion on that? I don't see any. I'll call the vote on that. All in favor? And that carries. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Barbecues are done.
Barbecues. Now, back to the last one. I think staff are looking for some direction on council, which is the off-leash dog swim area.
What about item number 3, Mayor Talon? Item number 3?
Yeah.
We haven't talked about that.
Oh, can we do the off-leash dog swimming area first and then go to signage and entrances? Because I know I was on, Councillor Fascio wanted to deal with it. I think it's a great opportunity, tied right next to the parking lot for the boat launch.
Yeah, there's 2 areas there for the
kayak launch, drop-off zone. I think that area is used by people with dogs already, and if we have a designated area like that and it's fenced, it'll stop conflict on Rendell Beach, because we can say there is a place for dogs off leash to enjoy the lake. So I'm in favor of having staff. What kind of motion would be helpful here?
It's the same thing, it'll be a bylaw amendment or.
Yeah, it would be helpful for direction if they want it to be fenced though, because that is slightly different than what we were.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
okay.
so-
There's something about a fence that
There's two
triggered a
things.
conversation. Okay,
Yeah,
tell me more. What have I
there's-
said that's changed things here?
There's a bylaw aspect of it, so again, regulation in the park regulation bylaw, and then I'll turn it over to Christy here if that's okay for the discussion on the fence.
Christy, over to you for the fence conversation.
Thanks, Anton. Just looking for clear direction if that is the vision of council. So there are a few just sort of geographical limitations on the site for as far as fencing is concerned. The goal was obviously to have it as non-disruptive as possible to sort of that riparian type area right near the lake. Not saying that that is not a possibility still, or even for some fencing on certain areas, but just with the geographics of this site, I don't believe it could be fully fenced.
Okay. I'm concerned about off-leash dogs, and I know there's some bushes and shrub and trees along the parking lot side there. I think even a partial fence just stops dogs that are off leash from perhaps getting hurt with vehicles backing up, trucks and trailers, a lot of moving parts and that kind of stuff. I think a fence just helps make it safer for people with dogs, and not everyone's off leash dog. A fence could help or just reduce conflict. Councillor Faccio.
I visualise a fence, your worship, from the end of the new planter, which hasn't been planted yet.
Yeah.
To the last tree.
Yeah.
Where the pathway is to the bench there. That's been built, that little
Yeah.
piece there. That would be the fence that I would visualise at the length that you would need, with a gate, obviously.
Yeah.
And like I said, all you need is a doggy station. You don't need water, because you've got the whole lake for them to drink water.
Yeah.
And there's 2 areas there of the beach that they can use.
Yeah.
So I think that's a perfect area for them there. But you definitely need a fence, otherwise they're going to be running all over the place.
I think you need a fence
Yeah.
if someone is carrying a canoe to the launch. I think the last thing they want is a dog perhaps getting tangled up in their legs. I just think a fence just helps demarcate the area and keeps the animals safe, and hopefully it doesn't have to be visually unappealing. Councillor Schweinmans, and then I'll get to you, Councillor Vital.
Thanks, Mayor Town. The other concern I would have, and maybe a fence is the solution, is there are some, like environmentally, there's high value trees on the south side of that. There's a lot of nesting birds. And, anyways, it's a nice little habitat, little pocket habitat there. I wouldn't want to let dogs completely loose to chase birds away from that area. So it'd be nice if we could somehow, I know we're not going to be able to fence that in because there's water access there, but maybe signage with dog etiquette signage, try to keep dogs away from those trees would be a good idea.
Okay, Councillor Vital.
Thank you. My concern is that it's quite close to the boat launch. And my concern for dogs swimming out so far that, it not only danger to the dogs, but to boaters who are either launching or retrieving. It's not to say that I won't support the idea. The other question that I have is about off-leash dog park in general. Would this be the only permanent off-leash dog park in the village? Or would we be under consideration for another area in the village? Because I think that is also something that residents have been asking for. Not all dog owners want their you know, their pets don't like the water, right? So that's a question.
I think this would be a second dog park. I think when we last left, and I think there's a whole bunch of hands, but I'm gonna see if I can test my memory this morning. I think we left it with staff to come back with a report, a recommendation on an off-leash dog park, where we had the temporary one, after they had spoken with neighboring residents and looked at, et cetera, all the other factors that would go into that. Am I close? Community services manager.
Yeah, thank you. You are close. That is exactly what is happening. As Councillor Vital stated, it's a different experience for dogs and pet owners. There was great feedback and great use of the temporary setup at Spring Park. So we are now just, we did a mail out to the residents that are all adjacent to Spring Park, as we have a few different potential sites in there that we're looking at. And then this would just be one of those other additional opportunities, and especially for those who are looking for water access for their pets.
Okay.
All right, thank
So
you.
a second.
Thank you. I'll look forward to the staff report then.
I'll put a motion forward. I think there's a whole bunch of good points came up, to direct staff to look into an off-leash dog park in this map as identified here, with making recommendations in consideration of fencing, the existing trees and shrubs there, and conflict with, I guess, the bird habitat that might be there, and some recommendations on how to mitigate that or on how we might proceed. I know it's really long-winded. Councillor Jackson.
Just put as I didn't realize you were so probably, I've been here 22 years.
Yeah.
I think this has been on council's agenda for 22 years. Limited the amount of land we have. I think sometimes you have to look at the reality of it. Every time I go out and I walk Macombs, everybody has their dogs and they're out walking, having a good time, and I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But some things we just can't accommodate. If a dog goes in the water, you have no control over it, because some dogs love to swim. And there's a boat launch right there, and then we're gonna be in real trouble if the dog gets run over. Just be cautious, that's all.
I guess we'll look at those risk factors. Councillor Vital.
Thank you. For you to staff, furthering on Councillor Jackson's comment, I'm wondering if it should be looked into, if there is any kind of a liability issue to the village should a dog get injured, or considering that it will be promoted as a village. Yeah.
I can see perhaps recommendations coming back that there be a buoy line between the 2 points to demarcate which dogs wouldn't be able to swim through.
Yeah.
I think there's probably ways of mitigating that, but getting a recommendation or a report from staff that highlights some of how to mitigate potential conflicts with boaters, the other habitat there, the shrubs there, and what trees, maybe there's a way of putting different trees in there. I think those trees are just ones that have just naturally grown. I don't believe those were intentionally planted.
The beavers had a good go. Last year.
So maybe there's a way of increasing the habitat with different kinds of trees and having that. And I know it's being used today by people with dogs. So. Any other discussion on the motion? Councillor Swan.
Quick question, Mayor Talon. Are we proposing just to try this for a year like we did at Spring Park? So that future councils, if there's a problem, can take this away, or future staff can recommend?
The motion was to direct staff to come back with a recommendation, a report that would propose an off-leash dog park in this area here, and recommendations on how to mitigate conflict, including fencing, with the boat, and also with the habitat that the existing bird habitat. Just look at the whole thing and see if there's a way that this could be going forward in a way that minimizes conflict between lots of different things. So we get the recommendation one in due course. Any further discussion? I'll call the vote on the motion. All in favor? Great. Couple of other things on the list here, and I know we've got sort of maybe 10 minutes. There was a comment to talk about the entrance to Rendell Park. Is that something staff are looking for direction on that, or is it something council wants to speak to? Where am I on this?
We've actually been talking at length on how to improve the entrance as well as ensuring the public knows where the entrance is. I'll pass it over. I don't want to steal Christy and Jason's thunder because they put a lot of effort into this. So I'll pass it over to them for a couple of ideas for council's consideration.
Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so the area we've been looking at is pretty complex. There's conflict with pedestrians, with boats and trailers, and then you also have vehicles just coming through. So there's a lot of competing usage, and our goal is just to sort of look at the area and try and come up with a solution that really guides pedestrians over to the park. Currently, when you walk in, it's sort of difficult to understand where you're supposed to go and the proper way to get there. So we don't have any designs yet, but we're just looking into all the different options and how we can really guide people in the correct direction to get there by enhancing the area and making it more user-friendly.
One idea was there's the chain link gate there that the public works crews use to access Rendell Park. Is if we get a good, 3 foot by 8 foot sign that says Rendell Park entrance and showing that the entrance is actually to the south. And because naturally when you're coming off the dike, walking down the pathway, your eyes are always drawn directly east. Yeah. Whereas a lot of people don't look at the crosswalk. There's some other ideas that maybe you want to touch on.
Yeah, maybe adding some color to the crosswalk, some kind of paint, because just being more attractive, more color to lead people to follow it, to make your way over there. Signage, potentially kind of rerouting of pathways and making the entrance area a little bit more open so you can actually see that this is the entrance and how you can access the park. So just sort of looking through different design features that are going to make it more user-friendly and more attractive to go a certain way.
And using delineators as well, showing what the path, because you can get the type that are removable. Cultus Lakes actually uses this quite a bit in quite a few locations where you just mount the base to the asphalt. It's a delineator that shows that there's actually a pedestrian is coming. You can see, and it actually protects the pedestrian from any vehicular traffic as well.
Okay, Councilor Simons.
Yeah, I wish we had a diagram about this, but so are we suggesting that people can walk right across the dike, past the bathrooms, and then straight across to Rendell?
Because we're keeping the existing alignment.
Because we mentioned pedestrian boat conflict. In my mind, the way it's oriented now, you've got more conflict. You've got to go across more potential cars coming this way, boats backing this way, whereas if we can just go straight across and put a big sign, watch for boats.
The difference between that is that if you're going north and then east in the existing crosswalk, then you're looking at the vehicle, the face of the driver essentially. Whereas if you're trying to go behind someone that is pulling in and trying to back down into the boat launch, that's where the true conflict comes. You want the interaction to be face to face. You want them to be able to see each other's eyes.
Community Service Manager.
Thanks, Mayor Talent. I just wanted to add some feedback because we have spoke with the boat launch operators extensively about this. So the current layout of the crosswalk works, but people are just trying to sort of take a shortcut because they don't know how to access Rendell Park. So where the first crosswalk is, the boats are stopped waiting for their turn. And so then you make it safely, and then you're sort of even further past the drive up and back zone. And then again, you're in the driver's line of vision. Whereas right now where they're crossing is when people are backing up, not driving face forward.
Yeah.
So where are you proposing it goes even further south?
No, we're not changing anything. We're not proposing to change anything. What we're trying to do is we were going with a couple of different color ideas, you know, in Chilliwack they use green for the bike lanes when there's a potential conflict between a cyclist and intersection. And we have some green paint kicking around. Maybe we'll do some patches so it's very clear that's where the pedestrian needs to go. And then also to do with the entrance of the park itself, the sign is there. However, it's kind of a bit low. We're looking at a few options to kind of raise it up and make it a little bit more apparent. The challenge with Rendell Park is it's a beautiful space, but it looks like it's a private area. And the intent of taking the old chain link fence down and putting the hedge up was to make it more appealing, visual appealing. And actually what it's done is kind of creates this, like it almost looks like it's a private space.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, Councillor Patchett.
It's just what the staff said an hour ago. Ways of informing the public. Leave it to them. They'll come up with ways to inform the public how to get to Rendell Park, how to get the entrances and whatever else. It's in their ball court. They will deal with it, and I'm very happy with that.
Okay. Councillor Vital.
Thank you. Just maybe a suggestion that signage could be put up around the boat launch, just saying voters, please be aware that, you know, this is also a crossing for pedestrian traffic. But I'll leave it up to staff, but I'm just throwing that one out.
If everyone's aware, minimize voters and pedestrians.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Right.
Anything else anyone wants to talk about today that we looking? I'm seeing none, so I'll get to item 6 on our agenda, which
Are we skipping 5?
that's what I'm asking. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Okay, community services manager.
Just for clarification, Amanda put all of the recommendations that were in the bylaw enforcement report on the agenda face, but the ones that were staff are just sort of, staff will come back to council if they need any further direction on those, unless there was something specific that anyone wanted to bring up.
Oh, I did have a comment about number 5. if I
Sure,
could.
this is
You
the
know,
time.
just doing some research, and I'm sure you're on this already, but you know, just looking at the BC website, you know, they have a goal. I think they're at 800 e-chargers right now in the province. Their goal is by 2030 to have 3,000, and we need to be part of that. Our community, I really believe that vehicles are the future, and if we aren't on that, then we're going to lose visitors, and our residents won't be served. So I really encourage us to look for grants. BC Hydro, Fortis, the federal government and provincial government are all actively looking to expand the network, and I think are going to throw some money around on this topic. So I'm sure you're on that. I'm sure I'm not telling you anything new, but I would really encourage us to find a designated area near the businesses where we can have 8 chargers or whatever. As I've mentioned before, I just bought an electric vehicle, and all the businesses around these electric vehicles get an uptick on their business because everyone goes in for a coffee or a sandwich because they have to wait for 40 minutes while they get charged up. So I really hope that we can get into that program quickly.
I'm looking forward to when we next council will get reports on usage, including EV parking stall usage, and find out if there's demand for it. So yeah, absolutely. Anything else, Councillor Patchett?
Motion to adjourn, Your Worship.
Is there, before I go that far, is there any other items that anyone wants to speak to?
We haven't talked about number 6.
Do you want to talk about number 6?
Yeah. What is there a plan from staff? I'm sorry, I thought there might be a debrief to us. We're just going to carry on with the program and continue to do education and enforcement on the waste getting out that morning of.
Correct.
We're committed to that? Okay. Just checking.
I think we're getting into bear season and
Barely.
Looking forward to seeing something on social media with the first bear sighting in town. So that'll probably spurn everyone to a quick refresher to manage their garbage safely. Anything else on agenda item 5 that anyone wants to bring up or speak to? Then I'll move to item 6, which is adjournment.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn. Councillor Faccio. We don't need a seconder, but we can move.
Sorry, Al, it's just a natural event.
All in favor of adjourning? And we are adjourned at noon.
Noon, right on the.
Wow.
Oh, good job.